We have with us Dr. Srikar Reddy, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, who will deliver his address on India-UAE partnership, evolving opportunities for Indian chemical companies. Dr. Srikar Reddy joined I.F.S. in 2001. He served at the Ministry of External Affairs, New Delhi, and handled India's relation with Pakistan and East and Southern Africa. He rendered his services as counselor at the Permanent Mission of India to the World Trade Organization and as the Consul General of India in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. He is also currently Chief Negotiator of India for ongoing FTA negotiations with Israel and Gulf Cooperation Council. Over to you, sir, for your address.
Shri Arun Baroka, Secretary, Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, Government of India. Mr. Bimal Gokuldas, President, ICC. Other dignitaries on the dais, distinguished members of the Indian Chemical Council, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. It is a great honor for me to come and participate in today's event, the 16th Annual India Chemical Industry Outlook Conference and Exhibition. So I would like to thank the President of the Indian Chemical Council for inviting me and to speak to you on the India-UAE trade agreement and also the India-Australia agreement. So, as speakers before me mentioned, India is among the fastest growing economies of the world. So this financial year 22-23, despite the global uncertainties, India GDP is expected to grow at 7.3%. And as Nikhilji mentioned during when he was making his presentation, that India has to become a $30 trillion economy by 2047. So this is a vision set by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. For that to achieve, I think we exports have to contribute at least 8 trillion by 2047. So currently last year, the financial year 21-22 was an important milestone for the Indian external trade, especially for the exports. For the first time, in the merchandise exports, we have reached the target of $400 billion US. In fact, we reached 422 billion in merchandise goods exports, and services also for the first time we crossed 250 billion US. We were 254. So overall goods and services exports put together, we have reached around 676 US. So in addition to the domestic consumption investment, we believe that international trade, especially exports, is an important driver of the Indian economy. So we see that exports, both goods and services put together, should contribute at least 25% to the Indian GDP, and especially the merchandise exports should contribute at least 15% to the Indian GDP. So for the year 2030, as we also have a target to reach 10 trillion by 2030, so the Minister of Commerce and Industry, Sri Piyush Goyal, also set an ambitious target of reaching 1 trillion merchandise goods exports and 1 trillion services exports. So, and already the speakers before me have mentioned the opportunities for the Indian chemical industry, which is currently around 220 billion, but even the theme for today is that to reach the 1 trillion of Indian chemical industry by 2040, I think exports should contribute at least 200 billion, which is 20% of the overall by 2040. This is a long-term objective, but even in the medium-term objective, say by 2025, the Indian industry is expected to reach around 250 billion. Even then, we would like to see that exports contribute a significant amount to the Indian chemical industry. And already, I understand that we are net positive in the trade of chemicals, especially we export a lot of specialty chemicals and other chemicals. And also there are a lot of opportunities, as speakers before me mentioned, with regarding to the decarbonization, and also the chemicals play an important role in the food security and other aspects. So last year is also important because for the first time we have signed two important trade agreements, the India-UAE Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and the India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement. So the UAE agreement, exactly we have completed 1 year. We signed the agreement on 18th February last year, and it entered into force on the 1st of May last year. While the Australian agreement we signed on 2nd of April last year, but it entered into force on 28th December last year. So there was a delay because the Australian Parliament took some time for the ratification because there was a change of government in Australia. So I'll be making a presentation on these two agreements, informing you the salient features. We also have some data with regarding to our performance of the India-UAE agreement. We'll also be sharing some details about the performance also. So here you can see, after 10 years, India has signed two agreements. The last agreement we signed was with Malaysia in 2011. So now, whatever agreements we have signed or whatever we are negotiating, so we are trying to do agreements with countries where there is a huge trade complementarity. So especially if you see the UAE and also Australia, so you can see they are also very important trading partners. You can see the UAE is the third largest trading partner of India and also the second largest export destination of India after the United States with a 29 billion US dollars for the year 2019-20. And for UAE also, India is a very important trading partner, which is for their first largest export destination. And we also receive significant investment from the UAE. And also, you can see Australia also is an important trading partner. We had a trade of 22 billion last year. And you can see the similarities and also the significant presence of Indian population in both these countries. We have over 700,000 Indian population in Australia, but in UAE we have 1/3 of the Indian population of about 3.5 million, and also they contribute significantly to Indian economy through the remittances of around $20 billion annually. So this is a comparison. While the Indian population, there is a difference, but you can see the trade. There is similarities like the partner countries of UAE and Australia. So they are significant trading countries. You can see their export and imports. They are at least 50 to 60% of the overall India's trade. So as I mentioned, there is a huge complementarity with these two countries. You can see that both these countries are levying 5% import duty on most of the products of export interest to India. In fact, UAE levies 5% import duty on 90% of the tariff lines and also amounting to over 90% of India's trade. So you can see through this agreement, we were able to achieve market access in the current value terms, around 33 billion we were exporting to both UAE and Australia put together. So for UAE, the UAE offered us 90% of Indian export immediate zero duty benefit. And over a period of 5 to 10 years, overall UAE has offered to eliminate tariffs on 97% of the tariff lines amounting to 99% of Indian exports to UAE. While Australia has offered to, it has eliminated tariffs on all the tariff lines, means we got 100% market access into the Australian market. You can see what are the sectors India will benefit. So especially we focused on getting immediate market access for the labor-intensive sectors like gems and jewelry, textiles, agriculture products, leather, pharmaceuticals, also the chemical industry sectors and also the engineering products. So as we have done extensive consultation with the Indian industry, so taking their feedback, we have put products which are sensitive to the Indian industry in the exclusion category. You can see especially the agri products, the dairy products, some medical devices, automobiles, even plastics, which is a part of the chemical industry, and also some soaps and cosmetics, and dyes and pigments. We have not offered any tariff concessions based on the inputs received from the domestic industry. So, as I mentioned, there is huge complementarity with the UAE. So, whatever duty concessions India has offered to UAE, so the Indian economy will in turn benefit. So, for example, the chemical industry will benefit through zero duty market access for crude oil, LPG, naphtha. There was a duty of 2.5% on both LPG and naphtha. We have cut it to zero. I think the chemical industry is already availing the benefits. And you can see other minerals where India is deficient, like limestone, cement. So these are also like Indian economy will benefit through import of these raw materials and intermediate products from UAE. So especially for the products where there is some competition, we have offered concessions to UAE in the form of the tariff rate quota, especially for the petrochemical industry, products like polyethylene, polypropylene and polyvinyl chloride, gold and gold jewelry. We have offered concessions through tariff rate quota with tariff reduction. So for Australia, we also the whatever we have offered import duty concession will benefit the Indian industry. Especially you can see we're importing coking coal, thermal coal, some agri products and metals where India is deficient, and we would be benefiting by imports at a zero duty from these two countries. Not only trade in goods, both India is also gaining much in the trade in services. You can see a lot of services both these countries have opened for India. Especially the Australia has also opened visas for the Indian students who are going there. They can also work for a period up to 4 years after completing the studies. You can see they also opened visas for the chefs and also the other categories. And based on the feedback received from the Indian industry, we have put in some stringent norms to protect the Indian industry. You can see the rules of origin criteria. We have a 40% value addition criteria for the UAE and for 35% value addition criteria for Australia. And also for the first time, based on the request of the steel industry, we have included the melt and pour criteria as the rules of origin. Only the steel products which are manufactured through the furnace route, they can be traded through this agreement. And also we have a permanent safeguard mechanism in the UAE to deal with any surge in the imports into India or any products. So we can also use this thing. For the first time, we have a mutual recognition agreement on pharmaceutical products where the UAE has agreed to offer India immediate market access and also registration for products which are already registered in developed markets like the UK, US, Canada and EU. So this is the difference when compared to the previous FTAs which we have done with countries like Japan, Korea and also ASEAN. Like there were many complaints regarding surge in imports and increase in trade deficit, but these FTAs and the ongoing FTAs we are negotiating with the United Kingdom, the European Union, Canada and the Gulf Cooperation Council. So we are holding extensive consultation with the industry. I recollect like we have extensive consultation even with the Chemicals and Petrochemical Manufacturers Association and the ICC. Kamalji, we met number of times at my level, my secretary level and also at the minister level. So whatever concessions are exchanged with partner countries, so only we are doing after taking all the industry and also all the line ministries like the DCPC was actively involved in our negotiation with the UAE, and also they're also actively participating in the negotiation with other countries like UK, EU and other countries. So we are following the whole of the government approach, and also we are also using our experiences based on the previous FTAs also when we enter into FTAs. So we have some data. As I mentioned, the India-UAE agreement entered into force on 1st of May. So as per the available data, despite the global headwinds, because of the India-UAE trade agreements, our exports are showing a positive trend. You can see while our overall global non-oil exports are declined by 4% during the period June to January this year. So you can see our overall exports to UAE increased by 5%. So there is a difference of 9 percentage points. We can attribute this to the agreement, trade agreement. You can see there is overall growth in both exports and imports. So this shows the increasing utilization of the India-UAE agreement. I can say that this UAE trade agreement is one of the fastest utilized trade agreement. You can see from the figures of the preferential certificate of origin which has been issued by our authorities. So from 415 in the month of May, now we have reached over 6,000 certificate of origin every month. So that shows the increased utilization. We are also doing a lot of outreach event with the industry and various sectors, and we are also trying to enhance the utilization rate of our exports into the UAE market. So you can see some of the major sectors which have benefited through this agreement. You can see the electric machinery, gems and jewelry is one of the important sector which has benefited through this agreement. Automobiles, even in the chemical sector, we see some chemical miscellaneous products and also the essential oils and other cosmetic products have also increased their market share because of this agreement. And some sectors could not perform as per expectation, especially the iron and steel sector that is attributed to the imposition of the export duty on steel. And you can see even the apparel sector could not perform well because UAE is a transit hub for the apparel sector going to other countries in Africa and also Middle East. So I think because of the economic situation there, so we could not export much in this product. So this is a very important slide for especially the chemical industry representatives, because we have offered concessions to the UAE in the form of the tariff rate quota with a 50% tariff reduction. You can see for the polyethylene, we have offered the current duty is 7.5% MFN duty. We have reduced this to 3.75, but over a period of 5 years. The initial 4 years we have cut only by 0.5 percentage points, and you can see the quota. We have offered the first year a quota of 150,000 metric tons, but in the 10th year it is only 285. As speakers before me mentioned, the per capita consumption of India is very low in various these kind of products. So the Indian market size increases, but we have kept the quota which has been offered to the UAE at very low and reasonable level. So even that quota which has been offered to the UAE, the utilization rate so far is only below 20%. You can see the first products, while other products, the utilization rate is below 8%, and some products it is only 1 or 2%. So this also, like we have done a phased reduction of the duty, import duty, to give time to the Indian petrochemical industry, time to also readjust and also compete effectively in the Indian market. And as I mentioned, as the Indian market in all these areas will grow significantly in the next few years, but we have kept, as you see, the 10 years quota, which will be very reasonable, and it will not have any impact on the Indian domestic manufacturers, especially who are into the manufacturing of the petrochemical, these kind of products. So we also thank all the petrochemical industry who have actively participated and given their inputs when we were formulating and finalizing these concessions with UAE, because in any agreement it is a matter of give and take. So because both countries, it should be a win-win agreement for all the partner countries involved in the agreement. So so that's why some sectors we need to open, even though India has a domestic manufacturing capacity. So I thank the petrochemical industry for coming forward and willing to offer concessions to the UAE. So we look forward similar cooperation in the future also. So you can see these are some of the important products which we are importing from the UAE. So basically these are all products which are basic raw materials, so which is also helping the Indian the downstream industry, and also some of the components are also going again as a part of our exports. So I think the overall objective of the India now trying to do agreements is to increase our market access, especially for the MSME sector, and also to become part of the global supply chains. Like Nikhilji mentioned, now many partner countries are also looking for the resilient supply chain. They're also looking for trusted suppliers. So the China plus one strategy. So Indian industry would like to become a reliable partner. I think in many sectors we have the capabilities, and through these trade agreements with countries with whom we have complementarity, we are trying to reduce the tariff or non-tariff barriers so that we can also become part of the supply chains. And also these trade agreements will also enable foreign investment to come to India, especially lead players. Like already we have seen some of the big, especially in the mobile sector, we have seen Samsung, Apple, and their manufacturers like Pegatron. They have already invested in India. We have become a net exporter. So we hope that through these trade agreements, we can also attract a lot of investment, not only for the domestic market, but also for the other markets internationally, and India can become globally competitive. And also we hope that exports can contribute 20%, and we can also help in the India's to achieve the target of 30 trillion by 2047. Thank you all. Thank you for giving the opportunity.